Happy Memorial Day to those that we've lost in our services and in the armed forces overseas. Obviously, prayers are with the family members, for the people that they have lost. And it definitely is a bit of a sad day, but it is supposed to be a holiday, a nice summer holiday where maybe we see some sports, go outside, have a barbecue and whatnot. Just one of those good old American summer holidays that we have. We have plenty of them, and you love that about this country. But something important happened in this country yesterday in the sports world. We saw some live sports, no masks, no crazy rules or anything like that. We saw golf, a good American sport, with some Americans out there and very well known Americans, I might add, and guys like Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods going up against Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson. And now we're not really going to do a whole breakdown, stroke by stroke, shot by shot, hole by hole. What club did Tom Brady use and, the direction that the ball went with the wind and everything. We're not really going to do anything like that. We're more so just going to talk about the significance of it, takeaways, just good things from it, because that's what this was. It definitely was a success. I don't think anyone could, dispute that. We all agree that this definitely was something that was much needed. That's my thing for me, is that I believe that with everything going on right now and the way we haven't had sports for months, that the sports that we at least like to watch, whether it's the golf or the basketball or baseball or hockey, all different things that are out there, we haven't seen any of it. We could watch the old games, what have you, but there's just something different about the live stuff. And what I believe it is the unpredictability. I think that's one of the really great things about sports. This saying, that is why the games are played, because you never know what is going to happen. And we know, as maybe Met fans or some of these other New York teams, we definitely see some crazy things happen, both good and bad, mostly bad unless you are a Yankees fan. But other than that, we just like seeing what's going to happen because we don't know. You know what I mean? Like, we're like, will Tom Brady and Phil win? Will Peyton and Tiger win? And you know what? It still was a close match. Even though Tiger and Peyton came out on top, which is kind of what I expected. But it definitely wasn't a blowout. Brady made some really nice shots. Phil was playing well. Obviously, Tiger did really, really well. And we expected the pros to do well. And Peyton definitely had surprised me because he's not someone that we really talk about playing golf. We've heard about some of these other athletes, more current guys, maybe like Steph Curry. He's a guy that really stands out as someone we know plays a lot of golf. But Payne, it was definitely great to see him. And I think the other really awesome thing about this was the presentation and the way these players had the microphones. That was such a huge thing because, one of the things about the traditional golf, not really to knock it, but we know how it goes. You have the guy and he's at the tee box and he hits the ball and you hear the announcers very quietly, and there's a shot to the fairway. You know what I mean? Like, we'll hear that and it's golf, that we understand that's how it goes. But having Payne, really make some jokes and make fun of people, and having Charles Barkley say some jokes and, stuff like that, it really made it more of an enjoyable experience. And I will say that I hope that that is something that we see with sports going forward. And I believe that we are, because one of the things that is something that baseball has been doing was miking up the players. We saw that in spring training, obviously with the Mets, guys like Alonso getting mic'd up, and JD and Dom Smith and Jeff McNeil. We also saw it in the All-Star game last year for baseball. And I think that with there not being fans at these live sporting events, because another big takeaway for me is that seeing how this went, that all these guys were fine and nothing bad happened to them health-wise, I don't see why you can't bring the PGA back. No fans, very carefully, with rules and all that stuff. And I think we can get golf going again. I don't see why not. Because if these guys did it, they played golf, why can't the pros? You know what I mean? So I really don't understand why that can't be a thing. So I definitely would like to see that come back. I felt like this match yesterday gave you the blueprint for that. Like, you know what? There is an avenue for golf to come back. And I think we all would like to see that. Because, again, it gives us a sense of hope. And that's the really big thing. Because with how sad it has been these past couple of months, being like, man, are we ever going to see sports come back? Maybe like next year or something like that. We've definitely been, waiting, trying patient as we can for the sports to come back. And seeing something like this and seeing that it was able to go well, I do think that gives us hope that the other stuff could come back, whether it is golf or it is basketball. And if baseball could get all their problems sorted out, especially with the money, maybe that could come back as well. So I do think that all of that is really encouraging for us as fans, so that we can see these sports again and have things, slowly reopen. That would just be very important for this country and for all of us. It definitely was something that was good to watch. It was fun to watch, and I really loved the cause behind this. I loved that it was a fundraising thing, and that it was something that's going to, those who are less fortunate that can't get meals right now, supplies for frontline workers, and just people in general, because you know what, the economy definitely is taking a hit. People are losing money, and just seeing these, you know, athletes and these big companies like a Capital One or Turner Sports or Bleacher Report all be able to come together for a great cause while giving the fans, sports fans, some entertainment. I say that's the best of all worlds. But to get back to the mic'd up, I think that that is something really, really important for there not being fans there. Because one of the big things that's going to be a problem when these sports come back and there are no fans, we're not really going to feel like we're as there. We're not really going to feel as in tune with it. But I feel like when you hear the guys mic'd up and mess around with what they're saying, it almost makes you feel like you're kind of there listening, like you're off to the side watching. You kind of get that feel a little bit, and it just makes it a more immersive experience. And I believe that the other sports should do this. And you know what? If there's not going to be golf fans, you want to mic up some of the golf players, maybe it still is a relatively quiet sport. And you know what? The players they're not really going to be talking to each other too much, I'd imagine. They'd really like to have them separate. But one of the things I really liked was you would hear Phil Mickelson go very in depth on what strategy he would take on a particular shot. He was saying, you know, with the rain and just the angle and with how the green is shaped, you know, this is the kind of shot I would go for and what kind of club I would use and all that stuff. Like, I think that was really interesting. And that's something we don't normally get from watching a normal golf match, you know what I mean? A normal golf tournament. We don't get that kind of action. So I do think that's something that they definitely could consider, where you have Koepka or Thomas or Dustin Johnson, any of these golfers, and maybe even Tiger again, like have them, you say, you know, what's going through their mind and what they would have done, how they feel about it. There's nothing wrong with that, you know what I mean? The technology was able to hold up, even though it had some difficulties every now and then. They couldn't exactly get the announcer to player as smooth as they would have liked, but for the most part, they got it done. We were able to hear what the players were saying. Like I said, we were able to hear the jokes, and again, you know, the stuff that helps us get more in depth of what the strategy is for some of the, you know, professional players. So that definitely was good, and I just think that is something that, you know, these other sports might have to do, because if in baseball or in basketball, all you're hearing is like the actual game action and the announcers, where it's like you're not really hearing the fans. I think that it would just be a nice little bonus just to hear the players mess around and whatnot, even though they still really can. I'm particularly thinking about something like baseball, where they had the players mic'd up already, and if there's not going to be a dugout and they have to be in the bleachers and far apart, I mean, they're not really going to mess around too much, and they're not really supposed to talk. One of the things I've heard is that, like, the third base coach is supposed to come to the third baseman or the umpire and talk to them. I mean, I get it. I still think it's a little silly, you know what I mean? It's just like, I think that I understand what baseball is going for, but I think they're just pushing it a little too much. I understand you want to have guidelines and rules for it to come back and everyone to be safe, but I feel like you look at what these guys did, it felt normal. That was the big thing for me, is that it didn't really feel like this isn't golf, because, you know, they're doing all these different rules that you don't normally do when it's golf. I still felt like that it was still the normal, traditional golf that, you know what, again, that return to normalcy is just so important for, I think, all of us. So I think baseball, you can't do it the traditional way, I understand, but I don't think you have to put that many rules, because you still want it to be like the way it should be. And you know what? Maybe basketball, they can have it more mic'd up, because that is a sport where, whether you like it or not, the guys have to be close. You know what I mean? There's no other way around that. So maybe you could have those players mic'd up a little more, and they should be able to talk to each other and mess with each other a little more. I mean, they're not really going to talk trash, because it's not a thing anymore. You know, from watching The Last Dance, we've seen the changes that basketball has made. You know, like we always say, it's a soft league now. It's a friendly league. Guys don't really go at it as much. But again, I just think that this gave us the blueprint. It was much needed. I liked it a lot. A lot of people liked it. You know, it was good to see Charles Barkley swing a club. I wouldn't mind seeing Charles play some more, because that definitely is always a great experience. But I do like that it was for a good cause. And you know what, like we've said, you know, players and owners and all that stuff, everybody's losing money. But you know what, they still are more wealthy than the rest of us. You know, they're definitely at the top percent of people that have plenty of wealth. And it's always nice to see those kind of donations. And I just think that, you know, maybe that's something they might have to do with the regular sports once it comes back, whether it is golf or, like I said, basketball, whatever. Maybe they have to do more fundraisers and things like that. I know they're losing money, and Blake Snell wants to get his, and he doesn't want to get the Rona and all that other stuff. But you know what? I just think that hopefully this is just a sign of things to come, that, you know what, PGA can come back and everything else. And then the other thing for me, it's just that I really hope that they don't overdo it, not only with the rules, but then with this whole money thing going on with baseball. You know, because that's the sport that we really are expecting to hope to come back, because basketball, it seems like they're making more progress, which is really odd because when you think about the two sports, I feel like basketball would be the tough one because the guys, no matter what, are going to be close. Baseball, you can kind of do some things and make it happen. But you know what? Here's my thing. If the KBO could do it, why can't MLB? Like, those guys are playing baseball and they're still getting it done, and nobody's, just dropping in the middle of the field and, getting sick or anything like that. Just do what they're doing. And they even have some fans there. So this way you have at least a little teeny bit of money coming in. And you know what? Just don't change the agreement. Everybody takes a hit. We understand it, but you just do it for the greater good. You just do it for everybody, for the fans, and even for yourself, because I'm sure the players aren't enjoying being inside. Like, we've heard plenty of basketball players say that they want to come back. Baseball has been more controversial. Some guys want to come back. It sounds like some guys not so much. So I just think that it's all been a little crazy, no doubt about it. And I just hope that everyone can put their feelings to the side and come to some sort of agreement. Hopefully this week. I know Tuesday is probably supposed to be a big day to decide what kind of plan baseball is willing to roll out. And if it is something big and we actually get some big news, we can make another video about that. Or we could just talk about it during one of the Mets franchise episodes, which another one is obviously coming tomorrow. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day and, stay safe and healthy and all that good stuff. And I will see you next time. If you like this video, leave a like. Comment what did you think about the match and about golf, and what kind of other ways could sports come back, whether it is any of the ones I talked about or maybe ones that I didn't mention, whether it's hockey or something else. Always willing to talk about that good stuff. And while you're at it, if you want to make my Memorial Day a little better, you can press the subscribe button. I'm not forcing you. I'm not taking your hand and moving it, to the subscribe button and pressing it, but you can do it if you want. Nothing wrong with that. I would appreciate it. Until then, see you guys next time.